Welcome all you cowboys and cowgirls. We're here to talk about tall tales, and I'm going to read to you an excerpt from Pecos Bill Gets a Wife. Now, that should be on page 178 of your grammar book in the 4th grade. Now, if you're a 3rd grader, I don't think they have this story in your book, so just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And 4th graders, open up to page 178 and follow along with me. Pecos Bill Gets a Wife. Pecos Bill, that rootin' tootin' cowboy, he figured he had just about everything. Why, he had Scat the cougar, he had Rat the python, and of course, he had a Widowmaker, the biggest, brawniest horse in the West. A horse that only Pecos Bill could ride. So the cowboy was mighty content, figuring there was nothing else in the world, the whole wide world, he could ever want. But one day, Pecos Bill was moseying down the river trail on old Widowmaker's back. He was taking it kind of slow and easy, about 60 miles an hour, when all of a sudden something stopped him right in his tracks. It was a sight the likes of what Pecos Bill had never seen before in all his days. Speeding down the middle of the river on the back of a giant catfish was a cowgirl. What a cowgirl! Her hair was as red as the evening sun, all tied up in 2 braids looking like 2 carrots sticking out of her head. Her hat flapped on the ends of its strings. Yippee! Yahoo! She yelled, her 2 long bony arms wrapped around that catfish's body. Yahoo! Yip, yip, yahoo! No doubt about it. It was love at first sight. Pecos Bill felt his heart do a double flip, bloop, bloop, and sweat stood out on his brow. Oh, he had to meet this cowgirl. Even while he watched, the catfish took a wild leap and landed on the bank, gasping for breath. The red-headed cowgirl hopped off, and with one quick toss, she flipped the catfish back in the water. Then she turned to face Pecos Bill. Howdy, cowboy. She grinned wide enough to show off all 6 of her teeth. Shining white and pearly. The freckles on her face stood out bold and orange. Pecos Bill's heart jumped in his throat, and he couldn't speak for gazing at her beauty. So she kept right on talking. My name's Slewfoot Sue. I come down the river to find a new critter to ride. I done rode everything this country has to offer. I've rode grizzly bears and mountain lions and wild horses, and now I've rode a catfish too. She grinned again and poured the water out of her boot. What have you rode, cowboy? All Pecos Bill could do was smile. There was a whirlwind courtship. And Slewfoot Sue decided she loved this cowboy as much as he loved her. But as crazy as Bill was about Sue, there was one thing he would not let her do. Sue, he told her, I've got to warn you, everything I have is yours, including Widowmaker. But he's a fiery horse, and I won't let anyone ride him but me. If you try, I might never see you again. Well, those were the very words Sue needed to hear to make her want to ride Widowmaker more than anything else in the world. Sue didn't mention it again, but that's not to say it left her mind. Sue could think of hardly anything else. Their wedding day came, and my did Sue look pretty. She wore a white veil and a long white dress with a bustle the size of a bushel basket. Bustles were quite the style back then, you know, and Sue's was made from a brand new bed spring and the fanciest chicken wire around. There never was a happier man than Pecos Bill on his wedding day. Well, no sooner had they said, I do, and the preacher pronounced his blessing than Slewfoot Sue hollered, Yahoo! She raced outside quicker than a jackrabbit and hopped on Widowmaker's back. That was one surprised horse. And that was one surprised bride. Widowmaker bucked hard, and Slewfoot Sue's second Yahoo! Faded off in the distance as she disappeared from sight behind the clouds. They all stood watching. Bill, the preacher, and all the cowboys, their mouths hanging wide open. We might never see her again, Pecos Bill muttered. I warned her. Well, rumor had it that Sue had to duck her head to keep from hitting the moon. But whatever happened, she appeared again that evening, falling right out of the sky. She would have landed with only a few bruises, except for the bustle she was wearing. Instead of landing, she bounced. Sue bounced up until she was out of sight in the sky again. When she came back down, boom, she bounced again. This could have gone on for days or even weeks, but finally Pecos Bill decided he had had enough. He figured his new bride probably had too. So he pulled out his lariat and waited. The next time Sue bounced, boom, boom, Bill lassoed her and brought her down. If it hadn't been for his strong muscles, she would have bounced again, but she stayed. She was a little dizzy and bruised, but otherwise she was fine. From what I hear, Pecos Bill and Slewfoot Sue had a right happy life together as husband and wife. And one thing that made it happy was that never again did Slewfoot Sue ask to ride Widowmaker. She was cured of that forever. The end. All right, my chickadees. That was an example of a tall tale. Now, there's something very special about tall tales. They are what we call not realistic. Okay, so a tall tale involves events that could never happen in real life. Okay, so let's think of some things about that story that could never happen in real life. Okay, so Slewfoot Sue came down riding on a giant catfish. Okay, Slewfoot Sue bounced from the ground all the way up into the atmosphere and beyond and almost hit the moon and came right down and bounced again. Not possible. Okay, they also involve humor, which means comedy, which means they are funny, okay? When Pecos Bill fell in love with Slewfoot Sue, she grinned a beautiful grin with her pearly white teeth, and she only had 6. 6 feet. He also had a cougar named Scat, and if you don't know, now you know, the name for wildcat poop is scat. So if you're ever out taking a hike in the mountains and a person that you're with is like, oh no, scat, that means a wild cat had been there and pooped right on your trail. Okay, so Scat the cougar, that's funny. Rat the python, rats are what pythons eat, okay? So he named him after some yummy food. What else is funny? Let's see. I'm going back. Oh, Slewfoot Sue's 2 carrots sticking off of her head. Those are her beautiful braids. Slewfoot Sue rode grizzly bears and mountain lions and wild horses, and she's ridden a catfish. Anyways, so tall tales are supposed to be funny. And tall tales involve events that are absolutely not possible. And they have multiple characters, okay? So we had Pecos Bill, we had Slewfoot Sue, we had Widowmaker. You've got animal characters in your tall tales, okay? And you had the preacher, but he's a minor character, no lines. Okay, so what else do I want to, oh yeah, so many tall tales have in common that their main characters have like superhero qualities, okay? So, Pecos Bill. He was the only one who could ride Widowmaker. He lassoed his bride out of the sky and with his big, strong, burly muscles was able to keep her down. Rode his horse at a leisurely 60 miles an hour. That's how, well, that's like the slowest person on the freeway. Welcome to SoCal. Speed it up. Oh, and they're very colorful. Okay, so Slewfoot Sue's hair was red as the sunset, and her freckles were bright orange, right? What else we got here? We need lots of color in our tales. We need superhuman capabilities. We need funny, funny stuff. All right, funny stuff. And multiple characters and animals for sure. Okay, so he had a cougar, he had a python, and he had a horse. She rode a catfish, okay? She mentioned grizzly bears, mountain lions. We need lots of animals in our tall tales, okay? So, today, yesterday you talked about tall tales, but today you're going to plan your hero. Okay, you need a hero in your story. I got to do something amazing. And now, and Pecos Bill Gets a Wife, it's part of a very long story. So there are more heroic things that Pecos Bill does. But this part of the story was the heroic act of rescuing his bride from outer space. Okay? That's a heroic act, okay? Doing something nice for somebody else. So you need to have a hero. They need to have a great name. Pecos Bill, Slewfoot Sue. Got to describe their size, their intelligence, their strength, and their special abilities, okay? And then you plan your other characters. So you have another planning chart with 3 other color-coded character webs, okay? That means you have to have 3 other characters. Page 183 is for your hero, and page 184 is for 3 other characters. So Pecos Bill had Pecos Bill and 3 other characters. Widowmaker, Slewfoot Sue, and the preacher. Not all your characters have to speak. Like this one and this one didn't speak. Slewfoot Sue, yippee! Yahoo! All right. Okay, that was super fun. I miss you. If we were together, you know I'd have you acted out. Wow. Y'all are amazing. Y'all are so much fun. Now, get started on your very own tall tale.